Median home price, on the other hand, I mean, this is what's driving it, down 34%. January median was 169,000. And you can see how different, you know, the kind of two sides of the coin in terms of supply and demand. Here's data from DataQuick, so it's not MLS data, it's data from the county recorder's office, and it gives you kind of a city-by-city view, and you can also get this through MetroList. Very, very important to have that tool for your clients. Unsold inventory in Sacramento is less than a 4-month supply. Wow. Affordability, 74% of the renters that live in Sacramento could now buy the median priced home. Pretty amazing. New construction, way down. New home sales, way down. Rents, probably starting to come down a little bit just because of job losses in the economy. You tend to see people calling their parents and saying, is that spare bedroom still available? So you do get a little bit of weakness, but not too much. Vacancy rates in the MSA are about 7.2% right now. You may not be aware, or maybe you are, that the National Association of Realtors has come out with an array of products that they're providing to realtors for free. And they've really gone into their kind of library of products. A lot of these are research reports, and they probably weren't like hot sellers anyway, but you guys are smart and with it, and I bet there's a lot of good stuff in there. So I encourage you to go to the NAR website, realtor.org, and just take a look at all they're making available for nothing. Just download it, print it out, whatever. One of the ones I want to highlight, which I think is so valuable, is their Relocation Report. They utilize IRS data to track where people move to and move from. And it's about a 12-page report. They have it for every county, including Sacramento. So you can see where people come from and go. The downside is the data's a little bit dated, but I don't think in terms of the locations it really changes that much. So the point is, when you look at kind of the net flow, it's not impressive. When you look at the actual flows, you can see in 2006 you had 29,000 households moving into the county. And the top 5 counties they came from were Placer, Yolo, Alameda, Santa Clara, and San Joaquin. This report has data throughout the United States. So if you're involved in a relocation network, I think it's really helpful to kind of pinpoint things. And then I couldn't come here without giving you your home buyer surname list. Again, this is from DataQuick, where they go through and count the surnames. And I'm not going to read it, but you can just see it is the melting pot of Sacramento come to life. Okay, let's talk a little bit more about some of the market statistics. We do a survey every June, and this started 30 years ago. Joel Singer was hired as a young UCLA graduate student, and one of the first things he did was institute this survey, and it's a very unique methodology. Essentially, we mail, and I'll explain that in a minute, 15,000 surveys out to realtors, a random selection of realtors in the state every June. And the reason it's a snail mail survey is because you have to look at the folder for your last transaction and get numbers. So it's a snapshot in time. So that's how I want you to interpret this. It's a snapshot in time, June of every year. In June of 2008, the median discount list to sale in California was 7.5. A couple years earlier, it was 0. The time on the market on the MLS was 8.6. A few years earlier, it had been 2. 80% of the homes sold in 2008 sold for less than their original list price. A couple years ago, it was below 40%. In 2005, the median amount of cash that a seller had that you worked with in June at the close of escrow was $220,000. Last June, it was $100,000. So that's the evaporation in equity and the limits on the trade-up market. 92% of the loans last year fell under the new conforming loan limit of $729,000, which is back in place. for all of 2009. Not for 2010, we'll have to deal with that later on, but it's back in force right now. First-time home buyers are were almost 36% of the market last year. This will be above 40% over the next 2 years. This is a first-time buyer market. This is just, I've talked about affordability already. Here's the problem. In 2006, 40% of you that said you were working with a first-time buyer said, my first-time buyer did not put any money down. Last year it was down to 5.7%. So, what's this subprime thing all about, and why didn't we get that it was going to take down the economy? Well, part of the problem is this. Subprime, again, there aren't really subprime loans, they're subprime borrowers, right? They have bad credit or no credit. And they've always been around. They were 2 to 3% of the market until kind of the end of 2003. And over the next couple of years, they got up to about 15% of the total market. They're now running, I can't read that, I think that's about 13%, 12% of the total market. So it was never like, I mean, you kind of think like it's the whole market or something, you know, the way it's talked about, but it really wasn't a huge part of the market. But unfortunately, most of the people that took out these, you know, most of these borrowers were not prepared for the adjustments. And you know, one of the things we asked in the survey of first-time buyers that we did was, did you know the terms of your loan? 22% of the people admitted they did not understand the terms of their loan, and you can imagine how many people that said they didn't. So that was a problem. So what happened was they got into these low teasers. Most of the subprime borrowers got into instruments that had a 2 or 3 year teaser period, and then they adjusted. When they adjusted, the two options that they thought would be open to them, either refinancing or selling, were not available for obvious reasons. So they began to default. So the question is, how long is this going to last, and why is everybody talking about a second wave of foreclosures? Well, you can see it in this chart. The green line, the green bars are subprime, and by the end of last year, we were about 70 to 75% through all of those adjustments. So take a break. Wow, we've absorbed that inventory. We're good. The problem is the Alt-A's and the option, you know, the Alt-A's were the liar loans, and the option arms, which were the pick payment, they were 5-year fixed, 5-year teasers, and then they adjust, and those are kind of the harvest gold and the yellow. So that's the concern, and we did some work with First American last year, kind of looking at by county. You can see Sacramento here in terms of subprime is number 15, and if you just eyeball 2009 and 2010, you can see we're already through 80% of the resets of subprime borrowers in Sacramento, right? Not much left in 2009 and 2010. Unfortunately, that's not true of the Alt-A's and the options. This is just the Alt-A's. You can see you've got in 2010 about 37% of those adjusting. Now, I want to make a couple of points. This graph, if you see charts like this, it's really overstating the case, because some of these properties have been sold and the loan no longer exists, and some of these people were able to refinance. So it overstates the case, but I don't think it negates the point that we do have a second wave coming in 2010. As those teaser rates began to adjust, the past due on the subprime there in green started to go up. As we flooded with inventory, prices started to go down, and the prime borrowers who may have done refinancing, right, and reduced their cushion, started to get into trouble. They started to get into a past due situation